Hi everyone, it's Julianne here and welcome back to my channel. For my card today, I'm going to be creating this Christmas winter scene using some newer products from Scrappy Tail Crafts. In my last video, I showed you the brand new Candlelight Poinsettia stamp set. So for my card today, I'm going to be using the new Cardinal Blessings stamp and die set. And I am going to be using this beautiful image of the birdhouse with two cardinals sitting on top of it. So I have already stamped this image out onto some Express It blending cardstock using some Memento Tuxedo black ink so that way I could do some Copic coloring. I'm going to be starting off my coloring today by coloring in both of those cardinals using my go-to red color combination, which is R24, R27, R29, and finally R39. I just fell in love with this image as well as the mailbox image that's included in this stamp. I love all of the detail in both of them, as well as the cute little Christmas decorations that are included. Now I did color in both of my cardinals to be red, so technically I do have two male cardinals for my card, but you could definitely color them in to be females, and you would want to color those in with a nice light brown. Since I knew I was going to be coloring in my birdhouse brown though, I wanted to make sure that my birds really popped on my card. So once I have both of my birds colored in, next I'm going to start coloring in my birdhouse, and for that I'm going to be using the colors E18, E15, and finally E13. Now I do have all of my marker caps off to the side, but I will also have the colors listed down below if you are interested. Now in order to achieve the texture of wood in my coloring, I'm going to be doing a flicking-like motion from the bottom of my image towards the center. I'm going to be coming in first with my darkest color of E18, and then I'm going to be going over that, extending that color with my medium shade of E15, and then finally I'm going to be blending in everything together using E13. Now in order to bring back those shadows, since I felt that they kind of got lost, I'm going to come back in with that E15, again doing those flicking-like motions in order to darken those areas. So once I had my coloring all finished, I'm now going to start working on creating my winter night scene. And for that, I'm going to be doing some ink blending using my Distress inks along with my blender brushes. The colors I'm going to be using today include Blueprint Sketch, Chipped Sapphire, and finally some black soot. I'm going to start out with that Blueprint Sketch, and I'm going to be adding majority of that color to the center of my background panel. And my background panel is some Distress watercolor cardstock that I have trimmed down to A2 size, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Once I have that first color down, I'm then going to be adding in my Chipped Sapphire, and I'm going to add that on the edges of my panel, and then I'm going to bring that color into the center, blending it together with that Blueprint Sketch. Now in order to deepen and darken those edges even more, I'm then going to be coming in with my black soot, and I'm going to be adding that just to the outside edges around my entire background panel. And finally, once I have enough black soot, I'm then going to be coming back in and I'm going to blend those edges together using some more of that Chipped Sapphire. And then finally, I'm going to go back over the entire panel with that Blueprint Sketch. And that's going to give me that super pretty night scene that I was going for my card. So once I've given my background panel a few seconds to dry, I did end up splattering some water throughout. And I just let the inks react with that water in order to give my background panel some texture. And now I'm going to be splattering my entire background as well as that cute little birdhouse using some white paint. And that's going to make it look as though it's snowing in my night scene. And I've just added that white paint directly to my work surface along with some water. And I'm just going to be splattering that paint throughout my background using a paintbrush. And I do have my panel inside of my splat box. Now if you don't have a splat box, that's perfectly fine. You can use an old shoebox if you have one. Or if you don't have either, you definitely do not need them. The splat box is helpful in containing the splatter from getting all over your work surface, but trust me, I still get splatter absolutely everywhere. I end up having to clean my work surface each time, so it's not that big of a deal if you do not have one. But once I'm happy with how my snow looks, I'm then just going to set both of those off to the side to dry, and then I'm going to start working on assembling my card together. Now next, I did start playing with the placement of everything, and I really felt as though I really wanted another birdhouse in my card. So I just stamped and colored that same exact image like I did before. I just ended up using some darker browns for my birdhouse, and that's just going to make sure that they're both just a little bit different. And for my coloring, I used the colors E39, E29, and E18 as my darkest color. So now that I know that I want to have two birdhouses, I'm just going to play around with the placement of both of those along with my snowy hills. Now in order to create those, I just used a hill border die that I already had, and I ran those through my die cutting machine using some white cardstock to make it look as though it was snow. So any dies that you already have will definitely work for this. Once I have a good idea of where I want everything to go, I'm going to start off by adhering that first layer of snow, the one that's going to be behind both my birdhouses, and I'm going to be adhering that directly down to my background panel using some liquid adhesive, and I will end up just trimming off any excess that's hanging over the sides using a pair of scissors. Next, I'm going to start working on adding in my sentiment, and for that, I'm just going to decide where I want that sentiment to be on that front snow hill, and I'm just going to kind of position it in between both of those birdhouses, and then I'm going to place that inside of my Misty, and I'm just going to stamp that sentiment directly down using some more of that Memento Tuxedo Black ink. Now this sentiment is a part of the Cardinal Blessings stamp set, and I just thought it was perfect for my card. Since I did end up using two birdhouses, it's like the birds are wishing the other bird family a Merry Christmas. Now I will also be adhering both of my birdhouses down to my background panel as well, and I will be using that same liquid adhesive, and I've just kind of scattered those so that they are at different heights in order to give my card some added dimension. Next comes my favorite part of this card, and that's where I'm going to add in some glitter. I'm going to be using some Lawn Fawn chunky glitter today, and I'm going to be adding that to the top of both of those snowy hills. In order to do this, I'm going to start off by adding a thin line of liquid adhesive where I want the glitter to be, and then I'm just going to pour it directly over that area. I will end up tapping off any excess into my coffee filter, and then the glitter will just adhere where I've added that adhesive. Now I will end up placing this snowy hill as well as my card off to the side to dry. I want to make sure that both areas are completely dry before I move on. Now I really like how this glitter looks in my card, but I know some of you might not want to work with glitter, so you can definitely skip this step if you want. But if you do decide to do this, I highly suggest you use a coffee filter. It really helps in containing all of your glitter, and it makes it super easy to put any excess back into your container. This is also a really easy tip for when you're adding embossing powder to your sentiments as well. It really contains all of that powder and again makes it super easy to put back inside of your container. Once I knew both of those areas were dry, I'm then going to be adhering my final snowy hill down to my background using some more of that liquid adhesive, and I'm just going to line it up using the edges of my background panel. And once I have that all adhered, I'm then going to finish off this card by adhering just a few clear sequins around my sentiment down at the bottom of my card. And once those are all adhered, that's going to complete my Christmas night scene using the Cardinal Blessings stamp set from Scrappy Tail Crafts. I really love how this card came out. I really think it does look like a snowy night scene, and I really hope that you guys enjoyed it as well. I want to thank you all so much for stopping by and spending some time with me. If you liked this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, as well as subscribe for even more card making ideas. If you're interested in any of the supplies I used, I will have them all listed and linked down below in the description box. And as always, I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll see you next time, and happy crafting!